Let me ask you this. I mean, we're tossing around terms Web3, Metaverse. Other people out there probably heard, acronyms like NFTs, DAOs. I want to delve into that, but before I do, I want to kind of set it up from this perspective, which is you've been
Sure.
practicing, 35 some odd years. You've seen how the evolution of technology in courtrooms, right? Whether it's from presenting a document when Elmos first started coming out, now computer and HDMI cables.
Almost.
And here's what I've noticed, and I want your perspective on this. John's been practicing about 10 years. Even when we started out, e-filing wasn't a thing. You still had to go hand in a paper copy and get it stamped by the clerk. And I used to joke with people and say the wheels of justice turn slow, but the wheels of legal innovation almost don't even move. And then we had this global pandemic that kind of forced innovation into courtrooms. And because John and I don't have the benefit of practicing in California, maybe we can just start by saying, what's the legal tech landscape in courtrooms in California these days?
It's looking good. It's looking good because of the reasons you just mentioned. What happened over the last couple of years is that it resulted in lawyers being towards the bottom or at the bottom of the top 17 tech sectors. To a year and a half into the pandemic, we've risen to the top. Yeah. Or near the top, according to Jack Newton of Clio. And they did the study, they did the research. And, it's because we understand what we needed to do to keep our doors open. I think with the mindset of consumers now, appreciating the fact of remote learning or remote representation, lawyers now appreciating the fact that we can run our practices oftentimes from our home offices, and we don't have to be down in our traditional law firm or even physically in court to do an appearance. I think when you look at all of these things and combine it with 5G, a fast internet connection, the time is now to move forward with all of the things that you just mentioned. I remember showing up in court back in the late 80s with a laptop. And I was going to give it was before PowerPoint as I knew it back then, but I was going to give a presentation during my opening statement. So during the morning break, the jury's out of the courtroom and I'm setting up my laptop and the display, and the judge leans over and he goes, "Mr. Jackson, what is that?" And I told the judge what it was. And he said, "You're not using that in my courtroom." I said, "Well, this is what I want to do. It's just like a big trial exhibit, but it's going to be a digital presentation. We're not going to do that, Mr. Jackson. Just give a normal opening statement." So we've gone from that full circle to, I can't remember the last time I've shown up in a courtroom, especially for a big trial. And, everybody wasn't dialed in with the latest tech available, to give that Dateline or 2020 presentation during the course of a trial. So it's amazing to see things change over the years.
It's surprising.
And the art of persuasion has to go ahead, John.
No. I was just going to say that we had an experience where just 3 years ago, we were trying a case, obviously pre-pandemic, where when we put up a PowerPoint, an opening statement, the judge was like, "What is happening?" And I go, "I'm doing an opening statement with PowerPoint that's done in every single trial on both sides." She was like, "I've never seen a lawyer use PowerPoint in opening something."
Really?
So, yes.
Yeah.
And even they looked at the defense like, "Are you having a PowerPoint?" He was like, "Yes, Judge. We've actually pre-exchanged them."
Thankfully.
This is what, and had he
defense
said,
is over there holding his iPad like, "Yeah, Judge, that's what we're doing now."
Right. And so for me, these technological advances have made the practice law efficient. We save time. So we're not driving to the courthouse, sitting in there waiting for a hearing, driving back, doing all those things. Jordan works in Atlanta a lot of times from his home. We're going to basically get rid of our office because we don't need it. We don't need that hard space. We obviously have the space down here, but
I might have to install a nice mahogany bookshelf behind me with leather-bound books, though, to keep the real lawyerly look.
Yeah. So
or you do what I'm doing. Full disclosure: use eCam and use a green screen background, because I've got a lot of arbitration boxes and books behind me. I'm broadcasting live, and I like to be transparent because I think this technology makes being a lawyer more enjoyable. As soon as I'm done, I'm going for a run. So I'm upstairs at my home office. We have a traditional law firm, right? The whole thing. But today, this afternoon, I'm broadcasting from my home upstairs office. We've got a green screen behind us. We're using eCam, and we're using photos from our office in the background. So when clients walk in, they're going to think, "Well, I'm comfortable. This is your lobby. I think I've been here before."
Right.
It's using technology to create a better, and this is the most important takeaway, I think, from today, a better client experience. I think that's what we need to focus on. I'm telling the young trial lawyers in our firm and the ones that I'm mentoring, right now we're going into court, whether it's mediation, arbitration, or jury trials. I want to lead with empathy, because we've all been through a hell of a lot, including our jurors. I don't want anybody beating up anybody on the stand. I want you to use compassion as your compass. And I want you to tell meaningful stories when presenting your case. You can make your point without making somebody look bad. And I think that type of new mindset is going to help us get better verdicts moving forward. Mm-hmm. I also feel like the technology, John, that you just mentioned, and Jordan, that you've mentioned, it allows us to deliver our legal services in a more cost-effective fashion, right? So it saves the clients time and money, and it allows us to improve the quality of our life, especially here in LA. So I don't have to drive 3 hours in rush hour traffic at 7 a.m. up to Los Angeles to do a 5-minute hearing, when we can now appear by Zoom or via a phone call or eventually via the metaverse to do that appearance. And so I'm really excited as a lawyer to see where we're moving forward, especially when it comes to virtual reality, Web3, and the metaverse.
And that's a perfect transition, because I want to get to Web3 and metaverse, and let's take us real quickly through decades of advancement. So if we wanted to have a CLE or even an educational chat like this with a group of people, what was it back in the day? It was a conference room in person, then maybe a teleconference, and then some people were doing video conferencing, but now that's, again, commonplace. But the next frontier, Mitch, is the metaverse, so to speak. So can you kind of shed some light, one-on-one? My crude understanding, Web3 is this next iteration of the internet based on blockchain. Metaverse, this virtual representation of the world that we can all still live in and have avatars in. But can you kind of paint the full picture for us?
I can, and I want people to think about Web 2 is centralized services. So you've got a big company that's providing you access to a website or to a social media platform. The idea behind Web 3, and I'm not sure it's going to pan out this way, is it's decentralized technology. Okay, when we're participating on the platforms or the various metaverses, the content's being distributed around the world on servers. No one company supposedly is in charge. I'm not sure it's going to play out that way. I still think the companies with the money are going to be the companies that are going to be setting up the best experiences for all of us. But it's just a new type of technology that, and here's the key takeaways, that incorporates blockchain technology and smart contracts to do business, to create relationships, to facilitate transactions. And blockchain and smart contracts are what I think lawyers really need to pay attention to. It's going to change everything. When we talk about the metaverse, we're talking about just a virtual extension of who we are, of our office space. So right now, what we're doing is we're offering clients, if they want to meet with us over the phone, in our office, if they're still social distancing, on a Zoom. Everybody's burned out on Zoom right now, right? Or they can meet with us in our virtual office or virtual conference room. And the clients love it. They can access our space. And we're using a couple of different platforms. Everybody write these names down, because these are the best platforms I've found for lawyers, for professionals. Spatial.io, EngageVR.io, Glue.work, Horizon Workrooms. Those are the 4 platforms that we're using. Beautiful conference rooms, exceptional client experience. Clients can connect with us using their phones, their tablets, their laptops, or their desktops. The best experience is using a headset. Okay, I'm holding up for the video portion of today's show an Oculus Quest 2, $300. It integrates with all of the top platforms. It's easy to use, and it's one of the best investments we've made at the firm. In fact, we purchased 10 of them to give out to clients who want to engage with us in our virtual spaces. It's simply an option that increases the experience by a factor of, improves the experience by a factor of about 95%. It feels like we're all in the same room together. We can use these virtual spaces to walk a claims adjuster through the chronological aspects of a case. The first photos of an accident. Next photos or video as we're walking through and answering questions of a hospital room where someone's being treated. Maybe a movie of an accident recon. And you walk your way through these spaces to that final end result, that settlement demand, or what we're going to be doing at trial. It's as though you're standing in the same room with someone, so much so that with my consulting agency, Maneuver, we've actually incorporated human resource suggestions to our clients, especially with larger companies, to incorporate training when it comes to HR, because a lot of executives or employers, they kind of forget that they're still in the workplace, and inappropriate lack of social spacing between avatars, or an inappropriate reaching out and touching, or maybe saying something inappropriate. These kinds of things are happening in these spaces, and they're happening because it feels like you're actually there with someone, to the point where you may not even think you're at work. And so it's this new dynamic that allows for better engagement regardless of where you're located around the world. It's a very real interaction where, if we're in a virtual space right now, we could be handing each other 3D objects, a defective product. We could be talking with an expert witness who's flipping it over right in front of us, showing us exactly where the bolt snapped. It's amazing technology. And what I like best about it is right now it's as easy to use as Zoom. With the platforms I just mentioned, you send a link, you can password protect it if you want to, and you click and you're in. So that's Web3, that's the metaverse. We're just getting started with all of this technology, and I can't wait to see where we end up in 5 or 10 years.
Oh, I'm the same. The excitement's palpable. And I think, you touched on it, but I want to just give it its due.
Sure.
Of course, there's a lot of lawyers out there of various ages and experiences. Their natural inclination is going to be hesitant to say this must be technically complex. It must require a lot of savvy and figuring out how to set this stuff up. And I can tell you from you're the one that I figured out about spatial.io and the others. I realized it's very inexpensive relative to the opportunity.
Right.
It's really user friendly. I mean, I really can't even say it. I agree with you. It's about as easy as using Zoom. And the more you use it, the more comfortable you get. Now, let me ask you this. What people out there have this, or I do, this connotation, or this image rather, in their mind, metaverse. What is that? Like the blocky Roblox looking thing? Or is it this complete virtual reality where it's me? Or is it something in between with an avatar? Can you kind of paint that picture?
I'm glad you brought that up, Jordan, because the last thing I want to do is meet with a high-paying client in a metaverse environment, a virtual space where everyone looks like Legos, or people are running around pulling your digital pant leg, right? That's not the type of impression I want to give. The platforms I just suggested to your listeners and your viewers are platforms with just beautiful graphics, as you know, in spatial, just top-notch, beautiful conference rooms, beautiful courtrooms where you can bring your clients into a courtroom and actually give them a tour, and even have a mock trial if you want to, or put your client up on the witness stand and show them what it's like to be cross-examined. The quality of the objects, of the furniture, of the office space is a 10 out of 10 right now. And with spatial, for example, what's interesting is they've just introduced legs to the avatars, along with some other bells and whistles. And I just shared this today in my LinkedIn newsletter, which focuses on these topics, Web3 and the metaverse, with a little legal and business twist to it. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because of the amount of megabytes or gigabytes that are involved with creating these spaces. What metaverse designers figured out is if they just had their avatars from the waist up, it allowed them to save a lot of processing power to create and render more realistic environments than having to worry about the legs. Well, technology is getting better. And because of that, what we're seeing are platforms now incorporating into these avatars, custom clothing, custom body sizes. I met two people last week at CEX, who we had connected on spatial, and they came up and introduced themselves. They're like, Mitch, you look exactly like your avatar on spatial. And I recognized one of the two people. I didn't know the other person. And the reason that's the case, Jordan, as you well know, is that spatial allows you to take a photograph with your webcam, upload a photo from your hard drive, or take one with your camera, and the AI integrates your face on top of an avatar body. So it feels like the three of us are in the same room having a conversation. When you see me down at the courthouse, or when I walk into a deposition, you're going to recognize this old, worn out trial lawyer face, but that's okay, because I want my clients to be comfortable with, who they're talking to in the platforms. So yeah, for all those reasons, it's just another way of connecting and building relationships with third parties, which includes clients, in a way that's transparent in a way that's effective. And I think in a way that builds, trust in relationships. And that's why I'm all in, especially on spatial and engaged VR.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I admire about you, I mean, because we're talking on this narrow channel here about certain metaverses at this stage that are probably more advantageous for the average consumer. But one of the things I admire most about you is the scope, the broad scope that you have of controlling all of your technology and social media, getting out the same messaging, the same valuable content in a myriad of ways. So, normally people wait to the end of shows or whatever, but I think for people out there, they might right now in this moment be asking, how can I learn more? How can I find out more? Because this is what he's doing it every day, all day. He's got MitchJackson.com. He talked about Maneuver, his consulting agency. He's got the LinkedIn newsletter. He's got a private Discord server. There's really, he's on Twitter. If you can't find Mitch, the problem's with you probably at this point.
So Jordan, what do you guys think? Thank you for that. And, I'm enjoying this. Okay. I've been doing this for a long time. And I don't know how many lawyers you guys know that have been practicing for 3 decades and still enjoy what they're doing. Like I get up every morning and I love what I'm doing. And it's because I'm blending the practice of law. I'm representing the clients that I want to represent. I enjoy technology. I'm finding time for a paddle in the morning, a run in the afternoon, family first, health first, right? It's because of all these things. I still enjoy doing what I'm doing. Now, speaking of enjoying what we're doing, you mentioned Discord. What do you guys think about Discord? Because it's an interesting dynamic that I'm still trying to wrap my. Go ahead. I want to watch my language on the show, but what do you guys really think about Discord?
No, don't feel free. We talk like sailors privately, so it's quite all right.
All right, it's a shit show. That's what I think. What do you guys think?
So I like Discord personally. So I'm in I do. So in addition to being a lawyer and to cut Mitch, your energy is fantastic. It's fun. I'm over here getting excited going, I need to be doing more in Web3. Yes. I need to be doing Metaverse, because if I can take my client and put them in a mock courtroom and do a cross-examination in a virtual space, I'd like that, to me is blown away. So then when they get in that moment, it's almost like they've been there. And, it's not my conference room. It's not sitting here where I'm doing it, but then you put them on the stand. You might have fake, people, or I don't know. I'm excited to learn more about it. And so I appreciate you, and I can tell you have that energy. And I don't meet many lawyers that have been practicing for 30 years that love what they do, because they're not doing something that engages them that isn't just the practice of law. If you're just practicing law for 30 years, sign me up. I'm going to be on the retirement plan in 15. I'm out. That's not for me. But I have myself and Jordan, really, we created a Discord for plaintiffs lawyers in Florida. And it's a small group that we've just started it, where we say, look, where can we collaborate and speak? And we created various things. I think it's very efficient. I'm in a couple, I do some crypto trading on the side. I'm in a couple of Discords as well. It's very easy. So I like it. I prefer it over, for instance, like an email chain, or you send one email, you get 47 responses. Instead, you can choose to see what you want to see in a particular category. So I like Discord. I think it's very efficient, for what I need. So that's just from my personal experience.
I think it's a step up from Telegram, obviously, but it's an imperfect utility, I think, in part because of its origins, right? It started with mostly gamers, streamers, then it kind of moved on to adopted by crypto users, and that's generally a younger audience. But I think that if people just stop, professionals of all different, experience levels, if they stopped and really tried out Discord, I think, to John's point, they'd find it's a really effective way of communicating in direct ways, or even getting a group together. And so, we started it in hopes that it would grow. Time will tell, but I know you have one as well, and I'm a member.
Yeah. So it's in my opinion, it's a necessary evil when it comes to Web3 and the metaverse. And why am I saying that? Right? Everybody that is interested in this technology is active on Discord. We're playing around in each other's servers, and we're also active on Twitter Spaces. And that's a great place for your listeners to get up to speed on, how people are using these platforms. I get that. I think I might be involved with too many different Discord servers where there's a lot of noise. Yeah. And the clients that we're representing who are defrauded or being taken advantage of, a lot of that initial interaction has happened in a Discord where somebody's clicked on a direct message link. And so for anyone listening, just do your due diligence. If you're going to be in a Discord, be in one, that John and Jordan have, where it's set up, who the people behind it, but you want to be careful. in this new Web3 environment, because there's a lot of things happening. People are letting FOMO, fear of missing out, dictate their next business move. Where one of my messages last week, along with Mark Schaefer, who's just a brilliant marketer, who was also speaking at the event, he's a friend of mine, is we encouraged everybody, take a deep breath, just like you would in the real world. Do your due diligence. You don't need to jump on the first opportunity that comes your way, and really get a feel for who you're investing with, what metaverse platforms you decide you want to spend time and build out your presence in, and just take it one step at a time. I think that the companies and the individuals and the lawyers that do that are the ones that are going to be avoiding the landmines and maximizing their upside potential. So it's an interesting dynamic, right? It's an interesting dynamic.
There's some safeguards we can put in. I noticed even on your server, when you join, you got to agree to some terms of service, and there's some hurdles you can put in the way of bots or people with bad intentions. And the one that John and I started, it starts with an application. Actually, you got to go to a website, you got to submit a form, we got to be able to verify you on the back end before we even get you in there. And that's primarily because it's plaintiff attorney oriented. And
send me the link. I want to check it out. Send me the link. If I can join from California, I'd love to.
Yeah, you sure can. Discord for plaintiffattorneys.com.
Ooh, okay.
A shameless plug of our own product.
No, I'm in. I want to check it out, because one of the things I've noticed with Web3, is the community. This is a community where once that light bulb goes on and you kind of get a feel for why this is so important, why this is so valuable, this is a very helpful, engaging community. We're all here to help each other.
Right.
I just noticed last week there were 500 people genuinely interested in helping each other. And I thought that was really, really cool. And I want to be a part of your Discord and check it out.